I had no idea this was going to be such a big deal when I started doing this. And if you're curious as to what I'm talking about, it is a strategy that I didn't necessarily invent it, but I maybe polished it and perfected it. And it has been a game changer for so many people. People have stopped me on the street, stopped me at conferences. I'm not kidding. People have really found this to help them break down some of those genealogical brick walls. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about research notes. And before you run away, just stick with me for a few minutes and let me show you why keeping research notes on some of those key ancestors can be such a life-changing experience for you as a family historian. We're going to jump into all of that coming up next. Welcome back to another episode on Genealogy TV. My name is Connie Knox. I am a professional genealogist, and this is an example of a work in progress right now. Some research notes that I have been keeping on one of my ancestors, and I realize you probably can't see that, especially if you're watching on a television. But basically, what it is this simple Word document. In my case, I use Word, but you could use Google Docs or whatever. And it is a process that I do, and by the way, there is a handout for this, and I'll explain that in a minute. What I do is I start research notes with a date, and then whatever the item is, I bold these things, and then I go into a description of what the item is, followed by a source citation, and I use those references. I hit insert a footnote, and I put my source citations in here. So you can see, it looks like there's a typo on this one, but you can see that there is footnotes in here so that I can actually trace what I am years later, come back, I can trace what I had looked at. So if you're ever wondering as you're going through the research process, where did I get that information from? That's what I do. I also put things in red. Like I need to go look for something. It's just basically a call to action for me when I come back to these research notes that I need to go do something here. And here it looks like I was making a note that I needed to add the 1840 census. I swear to God, this is a work in progress all the time. I'm constantly adding things. Like I might go in here and I might say FamilySearch. It might help if I could spell FamilySearch ID, and then I might put Ancestry here and then I hyperlink these items to the same profile on those platforms. I might even put a wiki tree in here because just about everybody has some of their ancestors on Wikitree these days. So I will hyperlink those just by right-clicking and hit link once I've copied the URL off of FamilySearch and add it to this ancestor's profile. This is clearly a work in progress, and it's got typos, and I'm sorry if it does. But, you know, a lot of times what this is a chronology of every record found. So if you are searching on Ancestry, I will typically go through every item that I have found for that person and add it to my research notes. Now, you may think that that is a lot of work, but it's not. It actually makes you think. So and I will often, like this one looks like it's misspelled, but it's probably spelled that way, exactly that way on Ancestry. Here you can see Hilkiah is spelled differently than it is up here. So there's a lot of things you can do here, but basically what it is a chronology of everything found. But what about those things that are not found? Well, it might be that you have done that reasonably exhaustive research per the genealogical proof standards, and you did not find someone in a place and time that you expect them to be. That would be negative evidence. And I will note negative evidence. Let's see if I have any in here. I don't know if I do, but I will note negative evidence if I can't find them. A lot of times I will make that a note in red. I'm trying not to jump ahead. So negative evidence, if I cannot find something at a certain place and time, I will make a note of it. This is not a research log. I don't make a note of everything that I have done. All I do is I keep a chronology of every record found. Now, what you're going to ask, I can feel it. I hear it. I hear you saying, yeah, but Connie, why do that? Because I've already got everything on Ancestry. No, you don't. Because if you go over to FamilySearch and you find a record there that's not on Ancestry, then you can add that to your research notes. Now, yes, you can keep some hyperlinks on Ancestry for those people, but the reality is that you can't keep track of all the details on Ancestry or FamilySearch that you can in your own research notes. Here I have abstracted, and in some cases I will actually transcribe sections of a document. Here I actually did the entire deed for 230 acres. I realize I'm skipping around. You probably can't see that very well. But I transcribed the whole thing and I put it in here. Now, typically I will do this in a separate document, but it wasn't that long. So I added it here. I'm highlighting things. I'm making things red. I want these things to jump out at me because they may be important to the research question that I might have at the time. I make research footnotes on the sources for every source, because I promise you, if you do this 10 years from now, when you come back to this document, and you go, where did I get that information from? If it's in the footnotes, you know where it came from. What also happens, here, let me show you. Here's another example. I'm going to zoom in. So one of the reasons why I said I never realized what a big deal this was going to be is honestly, people have stopped me and say, I'm a convert. I now do research notes like you do. It has really helped me out. Because here's what happens when you actually sit and type this stuff out. And I realize some people have challenges with typing. You can dictate this stuff. But point being is, when you do this, it makes you pay attention to the details that you never noticed before. And then you might have that aha moment. You might go, as you're typing this out, you go, oh, wait a minute. So-and-so was this age, not this age. This can't be the right record. Or, here's proof that this is the right record because this person is the same, family member as in, a cluster of a family unit is in another record. It will make you think. And so many people have told me that it has helped them break down brick walls. And if it has helped you break down some brick walls, will you please put it in the comment section so that other people can come to understand that it's worth the effort. Now, do I do this on every ancestor? No. Let me show you. Hey, we're going to get back to that video here in just a moment, but I want to let you know that Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Links for all of that are in the description box below the video. All right, let's get back to it. So I do this on all the direct line ancestors and anyone that I need to, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if you look at all the green check marks, these are all the people that I have done these research notes on. And as we dig deeper into the tree, you can see that I have gotten these green check marks. And if you're wondering how I do this, let me just explain. So I have these little emojis that I use. If you go into edit, and I'm going to copy that, and I just basically, you paste it into the suffix. You can only do it in the suffix, though. You can't do it anywhere else. And that shows up in the tree most of the time, unless the name is really long. So for example, if I wanted to add that green check mark here, you can just paste these on a Word document somewhere. And then I could then paste that in there and hit save, and it would show in the tree. I'm not going to do that because she's not done yet. But I have other emojis that mean other things. So this little circular one here means that it is a work in progress. So I may have multiples that are a work in progress. This little book over here means that I need to look something up at the archives next time I go over there. And so that's all. And so as I'm working through all of the different ones, all of the different greats out there, then I have my own little emoji, thing. You can create your own. Just go to Emojipedia and pick up your whatever red dots or orange squares. You can right click and hit emoji, or it says Windows period. So let's try that. I don't ever do it this way. But you can pick your own emojis over here. Wow, you can pick all kinds of stuff over here. But you can choose hearts or whatever. Some people like to colorize their hearts. I personally just go get squares off of Emojipedia or whatever. I just find it easier to go that route, but you've got all kinds of emojis. So what that was again, holding the Windows key down and hitting the period, or you can right click to get to it and add things in here. I think this is kind of silly, but you know, I don't need to be having OKs and thumbs ups or whatever. I just have my own little thing. So that's what I do. So going back to the tree for a moment, I don't even bother working all these hints until I'm working on that person. So this is a work in progress right now. I see there are new hints here. I will go chase those. But as I'm going through the research notes process, like here I was showing you Hilkiah Winslow's research notes. And what I do is I work through this, because you know how you are. When you're finding stuff, you're adding it to the profile and you go, I'll deal with it later. So you add stuff in and then you go back. As you're working through your research notes, you then evaluate these records. Are they correct? As long as I'm here, I am also cleaning up the profile. So I'm trying to get rid of duplicates like this. So I will go in here and say, I don't need two of them that say H.K. Winslow. So I will get rid of one. Okay. I will also make sure that they aren't drawing to something else beforehand. I knew that other one wasn't drawing to anything. But if I decide that I have a record that's not drawing to his name, and it's obviously, you know, something that, you know, name is one thing. But if you have, say, birth, and you've got multiple records in here, it looks like I've cleaned this one up already for the census records. But if you notice that you have multiple of the same record, you can delete them. But before you do, what I do is I go and I make sure, okay, so this is drawing to 1861. Let's go take a look at this record real quick. We drill all the way in. So this is a book, apparently, North Carolina State Troops. So if we go back and go look at the second one in that list, view this one. Same thing. So this is 2 copies of the same source. I do not need this. So this is part of the process that I go through when I'm creating my research notes, is I will, let me close this for a second. I will go and, first of all, I will make sure that it's drawing to where it's supposed to go. There's the H.K. Winslow. And this one's drawing to the residency. All right, so this one is drawing to the residency. This one's drawing to his name. So what I can do is I can add the name to this one. So I go here, I hit associated facts, and if I want that H.K. Winslow up there so that I pick that up from this one, now I can delete this one because I don't need this one anymore because I fixed it on the other version. So I remove that, goodbye, and now I only have one. I do this with all the records as I'm going through my research notes process. So one of the reasons why I wanted to update this was, first of all, the research notes process that I do. This is part of the process of cleaning up everything. So I'm cleaning up the profile on Ancestry. And if you're a FamilySearch user, you can do it there as well. And I will clean up my notes, all perfectly cleaned up and sourced. I can do all of that in one fell swoop. And then I can make notes of things that I still need to find. So this becomes kind of my, not a research log, but a research plan, because as I'm going through and putting this stuff in chronological order, I'm going, oh, wait a minute, I'm missing the such and such a census, right? If you'll notice, I got 1840. So he was born in 1831. I have 1840, 1850, 1860, 70, 80, 1900, wouldn't have an 1890 census. And then he dies in 1901. So I've got all the census records, but if I was missing it, and I know I was because I just worked on this recently, I was missing the 1840 census. So what I did was I went and found it and then added it. But before I did that, I was able to put that in the research notes and in red and say, hey, and I put it in chronological order. So I might stick it in, you know, where 1840 would belong, right? And here, right here, this is where I said I needed to go find it. Well, I see it's here now, right? 1840 census. and I'm going to put, and I've got it sourced. So now I could actually delete that note and it's gone. And so this is a constant process. Save early, save often. So I wanted to get back to the family tree for a second because I wanted to let you know like who I do these research notes on. I do them on all the direct line ancestors, but sometimes if I'm running into a problem where I'm not sure that these are the next parents back, right? You know, you got stuff back here that has been added over time that I haven't done the research notes for. Then I will go, okay, let's go look at the next generation back that I think is the parents. And I might start research notes on these guys too, but I might also look at all of Hilkiah's siblings. And if I'm having a problem, then I will do the research notes on all of the siblings. Now, in this case, there's a lot of them. So that's going to take some time. There is no doubt. But boy, you're going to have a perfect tree. You're going to have a thoroughly researched tree for your children, your grandchildren, future generations you will never meet will appreciate the work that you put in. And quite honestly, I do one set of research notes for every ancestor. And so everybody gets a separate set of research notes. Even a married couple, she and he get separate research notes. Why? Because they both had lives before they married, and usually one or the other has a life after one of them dies. And so there is more to the story for each one of them than during their married life together. Now, it's easy to cut and paste the information during their married life from one set to the other. It takes you 2 seconds to do that. But then sometimes I'll add in, images. Here I was just adding an image so that I could, sometimes it's just for me. It's just to remind me, oh yeah, that record. Okay, I remember now, or I'll put an image of a ship in because I think it looks cool. If I find an image that matches the ship in which they migrated. And so, long story short is that's what I do as far as creating those research notes. And it will, I promise you, it will help you break down those brick walls. If you don't do it on anybody else, if you are really stuck, do this on whomever you are stuck on, because it really is a game changer. Now, I have created a handout for this, and I actually upgraded the old one. So if you had the previous version from, I think I wrote the original version in 2020, I've gone through and I've made some edits. I've updated it. I've added some new information about source citations. And what you can do is, basically what you do is this. You go and you make a copy, save as, and you save it as, this one is Research Notes Template 2025 with instructions. And then you can go and save it as something else. So let's just save it. I'm just going to save it as test, right? So now you have a copy of it, the one with the instructions. And now you've got, I should have labeled it backup. You've got a backup. And then what you do is you go and you save as. I always save it as, I start with the number 1 so that it always rises to the top, because I'm always getting into this document and I don't want to have to go look through a whole mess of files. So I give it a 1, and then I give it the surname Winslow in big bold letters so I know it's a surname, and then the name and research notes. And sometimes I will put their birth and death year in there if I need to differentiate them from other people with the same name. And then I file it in my files. Here I'm in my little genealogy archives, and I keep everything in surname folders. And in this case, this is Winslow, so it would be in a Winslow folder. And then within that are the ancestor folders. And so his wife, what was her name? Let's go look. Please stand by while I get back to the tree. His wife is Mary Hale. So her file would be under Hale, not under Winslow, unless I don't know what her last name is. If I didn't know, I only knew her as Mary Winslow, then she would be filed under Winslow until such time that I figure out what her maiden name is, and then it would be filed separately. So that's what I do. So if you have to, sometimes you go sideways to the siblings to research those problems. I had to do that with this family a lot. And so if you're wanting to know about the mysterious Joel Davis Jr. Possible father with for Henry Gustav Henley, they get two different last names, child born out of wedlock, and so I through DNA am trying to figure out which of the 5 brothers. So if I'll show you, Joel Davis had sons, 5 different sons, and I was determining which of the sons is the father. So I just have this one plugged in for now, but if you want to watch the story, it's over on Genealogy TV 2. As I'm working through that process, it's a 6-episode series where I'm going through trying to decide which of the brothers it is. For now, I've plugged this guy in, but you never know how that's going to turn out. You need to go watch that series over there. So, working on Hilkiah Winslow, then I may be sometimes working on 2 or 3 at the same time. I may have multiple research notes open simultaneously, and so sometimes this is where having multiple screens really helps, because I can then like slide this over to one side, and then I can pick up I'm going to just pick up another screen just for grins and giggles. I can have another set of research notes over here, and it might be his wife. And so I will sit there and bing bang back and forth. So it does help to have multiple screens, just saying. So back over here on the worksheet, the handout that I have available for you. Once you save it as maybe your ancestor's name, then you can go in here and delete off all of the instructions. I even gave you the emojis that I use in case you wanted that. And you can just backspace your way out of it. You might have to, get rid of an arrow or something. But then, here, I'll get rid of this too. We can come over here, hit the backspace button over here to get us all the way back to the top. And then you can use this if you want. So I've given you an example. Let me zoom in. I've given you an example of what it might look like. So you have the date is always first. That way you can find stuff quickly. If you're working now in the 1880s on someone who was born in the 1830s, you don't need to read through all of your notes. You can just go straight to the 1880 area in this person's lifetime and do that research. And so here I just got born. You can replace it. He's born in, I don't know, Wisconsin. And then you can look, I've already got the footnotes in there for you. And then you can just change the source for number 1 right here. So if you want this, it's available. If you want to add a header, all you have to do is double click the top, change the person's name right there, bada bing, hit close header or footer. If you want to put a footer in, you can put your own information down here, your phone number, your email address, whatever, and that you wrote this, and so you can get credit for that. And then when you're done, you hit close that, and it kind of grays out. But when you go to print it, it'll be back to the darker color if you decide you want to print it. There are 4 ways to get the handouts. Now, the first way is to join the channel membership here at the information access level on the YouTube channel, and then go over to the membership tab, and then you can scroll through the posts and find the post that has the links in there, and then all you have to do is download the handouts. Okay, now the second way is over at Patreon. At Patreon, if you're at the Happy Dance level or higher, you can get the handouts. Those come directly to you in an email every time we announce the new video that has a handout with it. Now, the third way is if you are a Genealogy TV Academy member, you have an all-access pass to everything, all the courses and all the handouts and all the videos. And then lastly, if membership does not float your boat, you can go over to the genealogytv.org website and click on the Handouts tab, and there you can purchase the handouts for individual purchase. I hope that was helpful. The handouts really do support the channel, and for that, I thank you. Now, while I hope that my research someday will be, I will give it to the state archives or something, because I have done this for years and it has worked very well for me. But I do hope to give it to the archive someday. But one of the things that I don't do is I don't share this online with anybody, like putting it up on Ancestry or FamilySearch or whatever. And the reason for that is because it's a living, breathing document. I am constantly adding stuff to it. As new technologies, like we've learned with full text search. Oh my gosh, what a mind-blowing experience that has been. We have found records we didn't even know existed using the FamilySearch full text search. And so I don't want to be putting anything online that I'm going to be updating. So the research notes that I do are not online. I'm showing them to you, but I'm not putting them up on Ancestry. I may share the documents that I find on Ancestry or FamilySearch, but I am not uploading this document there because I'm finding stuff all the time and I'm adding to it. And it's just, you never know what you're going to find next week. So I don't want anybody to pick up a timestamp. Plus, if I'm wrong about something, I discover some other records that prove that this other record is wrong and it's not my guy, then I'm going to pull that out of my research notes and put the right stuff in so that I have accurate stuff. So anyway, that's my story about that. By the way, these are the little emojis that I use. I put them in the handout, but if you can go to Emojipedia and find them. So if you want to pause on the video and take a look at that, that's fine. I just thought I would share that with you so that you can see the ones that I use commonly. These are, sometimes I have to go back and look at my own little legend here because I forget what they are, like this little orange one. I have not started research notes on the orange squares. And so as I'm working my way back, I'm purposely putting that stuff on there because it makes it really easy to see when I am looking at the tree where I'm at in the process, right? I can sit there and bing bang through all of them and go, okay, I've got works in progress going on here, but this one I haven't started yet. And so, it's funny because I've got some family lines that go way back, but it doesn't mean I've done research notes all the way back into these really deep ancestors that I found decades ago when I was doing research, but I really want everything documented. So I'm working as fast as I can to try and document as far back as I can. And one of the reasons I do this is because of DNA research. And so as I'm discovering cousins back, DNA cousins that may have common ancestors back to some of these lines, we're starting to reach the end of DNA out here, but it might be that I can share some of my information with them as to what I found along the way. So that's the emoji trick. So for those who are not familiar with Word, I gave you some pretty good instructions here as to how to change the header. I've shown you how to do this in the video, but as a reminder, so you don't have to watch the video again, I'm giving you a lot of that instruction in here. Some places that you can do for source citations, which are super fast and easy. You can take an image and copy it into ChatGPT and ask it for an evidence explain style source citation. You can go over to Site Builder. That's cite-builder.com. And you can do a lot of free source citations over there. And then, you can also, if you're on FamilySearch, you can actually copy it. Let me show you that. So here I am on FamilySearch, and I am in the same ancestors profile. And by the way, this is where I would grab that URL, and I would copy it into Hilkiah's research notes. Wait for it. There they are. So then I would then right-click, link, paste, go. Now, anytime I need to get back to him, I just click on that from his research notes. And I can do the same thing on Ancestry. I come over here, I go into his profile. I grab the URL. I come over here. I highlight Ancestry. I link. Control V to paste. Okay. And now I can get back to my own. This is not a, you know, it's while my tree is public, somebody could find it, but it's a quick way for me to get back to my own tree for that ancestor, that profile. And then FamilySearch, I can do the same thing with WikiTree. But what I wanted to show you was on FamilySearch, we go over to FamilySearch and we come down into a record. We want to say view the original record. Anytime you see this information tab right here, scroll down to the bottom. There's your source citation. You don't even have to learn how to write a source citation. Then you copy it and you go and paste it into the footnotes in your research notes. For Hilkiah, you would, I don't know what that was, honestly. I wasn't paying attention. But let's say it's going to go here. You come up and say insert footnote and you hit Control V to paste and you're done. That's simple. And I know that was really small and probably hard to see. I'm going to undo that because that's really not the research note for, the source citation for that, but that's how you do it. So getting back to the worksheet, I've given you a lot of those instructions on how to do that. Here's a whole section on using source citations and how to create them very quickly so that you don't have to, learn a professional version of source citations. All I'm asking you to do is, cite your sources somehow, even if you just put the 1860 census, but it would be helpful if you had a good source citation in there so that others can follow it later on. And so think of it as, you're lost in the woods and the trees are representing all the records and you're trying to find your way around, and a little breadcrumb trail might be helpful, and that would be your source citation. So please do something there that would help you with that. So long story short, the worksheet is here and is available for the channel members, for the Patreon members, and for all of the Academy members. You all have handouts for this if you're at the appropriate level on the memberships. Now, as far as the Academy members, all Academy members have it. So if that is helpful, I hope so. Honestly, this is the #1 seller on my website for handouts. I get more people wanting this than anything else. I think they just like having that example and or a template from which to work. And you can delete off or keep a version of it with all the instructions and delete off all the instructions and then just use it over and over and over again for each ancestor. And it really has been a game changer for a lot of people, myself included, because it really helps you pay attention to the details. And with that, we'll see you in the next episode.